Welcome back to Pasties and Prosecco, where we believe every wedding should be a celebration of joy, love, and connection, even for the littlest of guests. Today, we're thrilled to have guest Becky from Tinies Devon and Cornwall Childcare to discuss the importance of stress-free wedding planning, no matter how many tiny tots are on your guest list. Get ready for a fun and informative chat as we dive into the world of wedding childcare and discover how Tinies can help you create a memorable day for everyone. But first, here's the Pasties and Prosecco jingle. Hey Cornish cuties, are you getting hitched in this beautiful county and feeling a tad overwhelmed? Well, don't fret. I'm Francesca and this is Pasties and Prosecco, your one-stop shop for all things wedding planning in Cornwall. We'll be bringing you the best local suppliers, stress-busting tips, real bride stories, and enough fun to make you forget about those pesky spreadsheets. So grab a glass of Prosecco, pop in those earbuds, and get ready to plan the most unique and unforgettable wedding ever. Hello everyone and welcome. Today we have a special guest on the show, Becky from Tinies Devon and Cornwall, a guardian angel for parents seeking worry-free childcare on their wedding day. Hello Becky, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're a ball of energy this morning. So, Becky, first of all, can you share with our audience a bit about yourself and how Tinies Devon and Cornwall came to be the trusted name in wedding childcare services in the region?
So, I've worked in childcare for most of my life. First of all, I went to college and I studied a 2-year diploma in nursery nursing. Then I was a nanny into my late teens and early 20s. I took a break from childcare for 10 years to have my own 2 sons. And then my previous job was a mobile creche manager, and I ran mobile creches across the UK. And then when I saw the opportunity to buy the Tinies Devon and Cornwall franchise, I went for it and I moved 300 miles down to Cornwall to do it.
And what an amazing kind of location to move to. That was a great opportunity.
It was fantastic. It's brilliant living down here. So yeah, I bought the franchise back in July 2016. So along with providing childcare services to parents and nurseries, I also provide childcare to weddings and events. And because my business is a childcare agency, I have to hand a database of available nannies and childcarers.
Oh wow. So it's amazing you've got all of that experience. Were you ever a nanny abroad or was it always in the UK?
I actually did do a bit of overseas nannying, not for long. Um, I did Camp America, but there was a few specialist jobs you could pick on the camp. So I was the nanny for the camp director and any of his visiting doctors and nurses. So I did it in America, not for long, whereas people do au pair in
Yeah.
America. I did it for about 8 weeks and then just went traveling across America afterwards.
Oh, that must have been a fantastic experience.
Yeah, but it was I had lots of lovely nanny jobs to sort of start my career off, which is great because then it
Yeah.
gives me now much 20 years on, it gives me more. I'm able more to relate to the nannies that I'm taking onto the agency now.
Yeah, you must have a wealth of experience, as I said, to kind of, hand on to them and just make sure that they're top notch when they come to work for you. So, what kinds of services can Tinies offer, and how do you tailor childcare solutions to meet the unique needs of a couple?
So we can offer childcare from a small scale to large scale. So it could be a babysitter for an evening or nannies for the day with or without our nanny package. Or it could be a fully managed secure creche to look after a large amount of children. Um, so most of the creches we do is to care for children whilst the adults enjoy the meal and speeches. And we often get brides with their own children as well who don't want to give the responsibility to their relatives to look after their own children on the day and they want their own relatives to enjoy it. Um, and we often send babysitters out to families who perhaps are not allowed to bring their children to the wedding. And so we're sending them sort of off sites. So there's lots of, sort of different services. We tend to do a nanny is a set price per hour, but in terms of if we're doing a creche or kind of any other events, then it is more of a bespoke package to fit around how long they want somebody, how many children are attending, um, and the timings that they need.
Oh, so there's a lot of services because, I wasn't aware of that. I just thought just be one person showing up and you're looking after the children for the day. It's interesting that you said about looking after other people's children. I know when I got married, we had some last minute cancellations from people because they couldn't get childcare services and during the school holidays and they couldn't rely on family members to look after their children and they had to travel quite far to Cornwall for the wedding. I wish I knew about that service before because we could have offered that to our guests where the kids could have come to Cornwall for a holiday, but on the day of the wedding, they could have been looked after by Tinies.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do.
So you talked about the nanny package. So what does that include?
So if the parents are just booking nannies to come rather than the whole crash package, then an event nanny bag is just a few bags, but it's enough to keep the children going for a couple of hours with things like um, balloons and bubbles and temporary tattoos and games and arts and crafts activities. If the parents are booking a creche, then we do packages, and the parents and the brides can then book the packages depending on what they want and what they feel would suit the children or the needs for the day.
Oh, okay. So they can pick and choose what type of activities they'd want for their children. Is that
Yeah,
possible?
I've set it so that it would suit, if there's going to be loads of babies, they're not going to want to be doing arts and crafts if they're too little for it. So we have a baby package. Or if it's set in a venue that's got lots of nice outdoor space or a nice large marquee, they can book the outdoor toy package where I bring like ride on toys and I've got, or if they want something a bit more activity based inside, I've got a bouncy castle that they can use, a small child bouncy castle.
Ah, great. Wow. Yes, that's a lot of different activities. Is there a favorite amongst the children?
It sounds so basic, but the one thing I always make sure I include is bubbles. But I use those, the really big bubble sticks that I make enormous bubbles. And they work really well at
Who
venues.
doesn't love bubbles? And
Absolutely.
they're so pretty and it makes for great photos as well.
It's very Instagrammable.
Definitely. So we all know weddings are overwhelming for everyone, and sometimes they are even more overwhelming for the little ones. So, what happens if a child throws his toys out of a pram, quite literally? How do you handle particularly sensitive children or children with special needs?
So you're always going to have children who can't be settled, and it would be rare to not have at least one child who was like this. So there's different ways that we would handle this. Mostly, a lot of the time, children will settle quickly. And sometimes those children are generally upset and just need to be
Mm.
settled. And sometimes children are very skilled in responding to their own parents' anxieties. So where the
Yeah.
parent is more anxious about leaving them, and the child responds in that way to that they just makes the situation worse. But most of the time, children will be okay. This is safe. And also, what's nice, the child will walk in if it's a creche, and the room will be set up. So usually they're just distracted enough. Prior to the weddings, we always send out a registration form, so the parents aren't trying to deal with that on the day. I already have the information about the children. I kind of know what they like and dislike. I will perhaps understand if they're not going to be settled. And that will also highlight any special needs that the children may have. And if they really won't settle, we will get the parents to come back. We're not going to leave any child distraught. And it might be the case that the parent can stay with them for a while to settle them in. Um, but as I say, I won't ever leave a child to cry for hours.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in energy transfer. When you're around people that have got positivity and happiness, you tend to feel great yourself. But when you meet some people that are either, in a dark place, angry, whatever the negative emotion it may be, it does bring you down. Maybe that's because I'm an empath and it won't affect everyone, but I always feel different, types of energy. And I can imagine children are probably a little bit more sensitive than adults to that as well.
Yeah, and that can happen. It is also important to mention when it is weddings, there's always a good chance that those children know each other. Usually, often they're cousins or they're friends of the family. And if they didn't know each other, they're always friends by the end of it. It's a nice way for the children to get together and play with each other.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine it is a joyful experience when they get to see their friends and their family, and but at the same time, it can all be overwhelming, can't it? It can, really knock a child off kilter, even with all of that excitement. And then you add sugar involved with all of the cake. It's a recipe for disaster.
Hopefully, you usually get them before the meals have taken place and before any jelly ice cream. So they're slightly calmer when they come to
And
us.
then you hand them back after the puddings.
And then I hand them back with a sugar rush. Yeah.
I understand that you've got a team of helpers. It's not just you running around like Superwoman providing all these services. Do these minders are they specially trained to provide a professional and safe service?
Yeah. So, as I also run a childcare agency, we have set procedures on how to vet nannies and childcarers. We are also one of the few childcare agencies to be regulated by the Recruitment and Employment Confederation. So, there are set procedures we have to abide by to retain our membership. So, such as nannies have to have been vetted face to face, they have to have a recent DBS or better still, one on the update service. They have to have acceptable experience, which I will then reference check. But a lot of the nannies do this besides their full-time or part-time job and will usually work in the childcare industry already. But in addition to all of this, we do have public liability insurance, and we'll carry out site visits and risk assessments
Perfect.
where we need
Very
to.
sensible, especially when kids are involved. So, working with kids, you must have a million heartwarming or funny stories about children at weddings. Have you got any that you can share with our listeners today?
So there was one year, a few years ago, I was running a creche at a venue in Cornwall, which was set on a farm, so nice and rural. That same night we were running the creche, it was predicted a meteor shower, and there was due to be a lot of shooting stars in the sky. We had actually been booked also to work in the evening, and the wedding couple had booked my slumber package. So that's lots of blankets and cushions. So they know they can cozy up and watch a movie. And
Oh,
so
that's
what
so
we
cute.
did, yeah, so what we did, we got the children to grab a blanket, we carried out the cushions, and we walked to the back of the venue where there was no light pollution but a decking. And the children put all the cushions out and hid cuddled under blankets. And we looked up the stars and we all sat there watching the stars and we saw lots of shooting
Oh,
stars.
did you get them to make a wish?
I can't remember. I hope so.
That is just so lovely. What an experience. And, these are the sort of things that, children remember. I remember, I think, laying in the back garden with my dad looking at shooting stars. It's those sort of simple things in life, but, awe-inspiring things in life that really you take to your adulthood.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a nice, it was just such the perfect venue for it because it was rural, because there was no light pollution, because it was just that little bit away from the wedding,
Mm.
but all because the children were awake and excited. It was so much fun, and we were so lucky to to be able to see that. But also because I had a big pile of cushions and blankets with me as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, lovely. It's quite educational as well. Do you have any particular educational activities that you do with the children?
I think I would say that a lot of the whenever children are playing, that's always an educational activity. So because I have a complete range of activities, there's a lot of make believe play, so they can do what they want. I have construction toys and arts and crafts. So yes, if we were to put this into a nursery setting, we could apply them against the early years framework. But also a lot of it is there's no strict rules about what we do when we're on creche. Just as long as they're having fun and it's memorable for them, then that's what's more important.
Yeah, so fun is the priority. If it's a bit educational, it's a bonus.
Brilliant, absolutely.
So what sets Tinies, Devon and Cornwall apart from other childcare services, and why should our listeners choose your service for their wedding day?
So I would say I've got a lot of experience behind this. I've been providing childcare for events for over 12 years now. I have been able to find solutions to childcare developments that wedding couples haven't often thought about. I would always say to a wedding couple, what's the ideal scenario on your wedding day? And then I make suggestions on how I could fit childcare around that to fit by what they need. I would also say that everything I do is at a professional legal standard. All my nannies have been vetted to the same standard of a practitioner that would work in a nursery. In addition, they are all correctly employed rather than have taken on the risk of having subcontracted nannies. And I have full public liability insurance as well as the employer's liability insurance. And because at the standard we work, because it is professional and the correct standards that are needed for the industry, I also supply corporate creches. So I've supplied to teaching unions and the Royal College of Nurses as well.
Oh, yeah. It sounds super professional. And, if I had human babies rather than fair babies, I'd want them in your hands for sure. Okay. So for those listeners that won't be able to use your services for any reason, are there any tips you would give them to help prepare their own or their guest children for their wedding day?
I would always say to wedding couples, do not feel guilty if you're not inviting children to your wedding. If you don't want them there, that's fine. It is your day, it is your budget. I speak to so many brides who always feel quite awkward going, well, what we want you for is because we don't want children at the wedding. And it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm there if you want the children at your wedding. I'm there when you don't want children at your wedding. And we can provide nannies to have them off site.
I totally agree. I hear that there is a lot of guilt with couples that don't want children on their wedding day. They might not even want their own children at their wedding day for whatever reason. But I completely agree. It's their day, how they want to spend it. And also children come with a price tag, and sometimes that can be quite a hefty price tag too.
Absolutely. It's not even just, even if you're not looking at the childcare, you're then going to have to start thinking about the children's food and what entertainment you're going to need so they're not distracting.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, I always say, bear in mind what's going on at the speeches. You don't want children interrupting them. Perhaps don't want children listening to them either.
Mm-hmm. We had a wedding last week, and during the ceremony, within 5 minutes of it starting, one of the guests had to come out because of their children not wanting to sit still and almost heckling the bride and groom, and she had to leave the ceremony, and she didn't get to enjoy it because she had to go outside with her child, which was a real shame because it was a beautiful ceremony and she didn't get to witness that.
I would also say this works in reverse. Sometimes your guests don't want you to invite their children.
Yeah,
They are looking forward to having that adult only time.
that
And
is
whether it's a
true.
case that they need there, and whether it's a case they need to travel down to Cornwall, and as I say, I provide lots of nannies to Airbnbs, so they can still enjoy their day, but still perhaps have a holiday time away with their children. But on that particular day, It's adults only.
Yeah, it's a good excuse, isn't it? It's like, please don't invite children at your wedding because I'd like some date time with my hubby or my partner, or and leave the kids at home, or as you said, have childcare in the hotel that they're staying in. Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you, Becky, for sharing the heartwarming mission of Tinies Devon and Cornwall and all those fabulous tips as well with our listeners today. If our listeners want to learn more about your services, where can they reach you?
www.tinies.com. That's Tinies.
Perfect. And are you on social media?
Also on Facebook, and I'm also on Instagram. You'll find me underneath Tinies Devon and Cornwall.
Oh, perfect. So thank you so much for your time today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on Pasties and Prosecco.
Thank you so much for having me.
And there you have it. Whether you're planning a child-free wedding or want to include your little ones in the celebration, Tinies Devon and Cornwall Childcare have you covered. Remember to check out our brand new Ultimate Guide to Cornwall Wedding Suppliers. It's launching in January 2025, and this comprehensive resource features the best suppliers in the region, including Tinies. So sign up for your free downloadable copy. Simply follow the link in our show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave me a review. Plus, share this episode with other couples planning their wedding day. Until next time, happy planning and cheers to a stress-free wedding.